Hello, everybody. It's John Hope Bryant. I am live from around the world. I am here writing a new book, which hopefully you're going to like. But today I'm here to talk to you about a topic that's relevant and timely. By the way, for those of you who don't know me, I'm chairman and CEO of Operation Hope and founder, America's first and largest nonprofit financial services network for the poor, the underserved, the working class, the struggling class, and those with too much month at the end of their money. Folks like you and me. I also am CEO and founder of Bryant Group Ventures and am author of 3 books, Banking on Our Future, Love, Leadership, The New Way to Lead in a Fear-Based World, which probably needs to be republished today, given some of the folks who are not practicing love leadership in the world today. And then the book that I'm going to refer to now, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, which is a bestseller. Hey, Lloyd Mitchell signing on. How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, Rebuilding the Path to the Middle Class, the Solution for the 100%. Hey, Maria, thanks for the congrats on reaching so many viewers. Thank you. We have 10 million people who view these civil rights videos plus and growing. Hey, Patrice Du Bois signing on. We have people signing on from all around the world, by the way. I think we've hit every continent at this point. And I want to thank you for signing on to this movement. Dominique Johnson, hey John, what's happening? Coming to you live from High Mile City. I love your show. Thank you. Unbought, unbossed, unbiased. And if you like this, hey Jeff Debuchier, I hope I'm saying that right. If you like this, you'll really love my next book, which I'm working on right now. Terry TB, you're making this country a better place. Thank you very much, Terry. Appreciate that. Let me see, Janine Perry, hello. So as you're signing on, I'm going to try to acknowledge you, but I also want to cut to the chase and not make this video too long. So as the topic says in the byline, hey, hello from Florida, Nick Avelli. As the topic says in the byline, there is an example of bad capitalism, and unfortunately it's what we call private prisons. Eric Jennings, thanks for the enlightenment. Thank you back, brother. This is civil rights. Francisco Morales, preach. Okay. Well, Francisco, I haven't even got started yet, but thank you very much. I will be coming at you. We need a small business segment for small business owners, please. That's Keith Jeffrey. Okay, Keith, you got to give me some more details of what you want me to talk about with regards to small business. Hello from Arizona, JB. We have a lot of folks signing on from around the country and around the world, and I thank each and every one of you. Okay, so Craig Green from Carson, right next to the city I grew up in Compton, California. So look, in my book, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism, I dealt with a topic which I call good selfishness and bad selfishness. Actually, I dealt with this in Love Leadership, that good selfishness is where I benefit, but you benefit more, and you benefit more. Vic Hall signs in, love all the information you're giving is very much needed for those of us wanting control of our lives in changing times. Thanks, Vic Hall. Donovan Lewis, hey, I'm here new and heard great things about you. Looking forward to your talk. Thank you so much, Donovan. So in Love Leadership, I said that there's 2 things in the world. There's love and there's fear, and what you don't love, you fear. And the reason it's all screwed up is that so many of our so-called leaders are leading by fear. I also talked about good selfishness and bad selfishness, that good selfishness is where I benefit and everybody else benefits more. Raising a child is good selfishness. Doing charity work is good selfishness. Going to work is good selfishness. In other words, I benefit, but the employer got a benefit from my work ethic, and the purchaser of the products that the company makes got the benefit of my expertise. Everybody theoretically wins in that environment. Bad selfishness is like drug dealing. It's like pimping. It's like stealing and violent crimes and murder and mayhem. All those are examples of bad selfishness, where I benefit and everybody else pays a price for it. I have not spent a lot of time talking about examples of bad selfishness. I'm going to go one step further and talk about an example of actually bad capitalism. Um, Private prisons. Hey, Edward Austin, Truth and Honesty and Honest Insights. Where can your book be purchased? Shirley Rogers. It's available everywhere. Thank God, online. Shirley, thank God for the internet age. Just type in how the pork is the title of any of these books. They'll just come up. Amazon's easiest, but iTunes, etc. And they're in all formats. Claudia Rivers, love listening on everything you speak. Thank you. You can't hear. Well, Maria, I don't know what to tell you about that. Can everybody else hear me okay? I haven't done anything to the volume levels. You might want to check your device. Before I get into this topic, I want to really make sure everybody can hear me well. So just, I believe in your movement, Francisco Morales. Thank you very much. Again, before I get into this topic, I want to make sure everybody can hear me really well. Can hear just fine. Okay, so Marie, you just need to check your. See, I stopped the whole world for you, Marie. You just need to check your device settings. Okay, so let's get into this. Private prisons. There are businesses that should not be. There are functions in society. I'm a free enterprise guy, by the way. I'm a capitalist. Okay, I'm a capitalist with a heart. But there are things that probably should not be the purview of the private sector. There are, frankly, there are very few things that can't be handled by the private sector. But there are a few things that just shouldn't be. And I think that prisons are one of them. We have seen that somebody can have fairly good intentions. They mean well. They're not racist. They're not consciously discriminatory. But you want customers. That's the very nature of a business, is you want customers. All right? So if you run a private prison, again, people are saying they can't hear. I don't know. You got to check your devices. There's nothing I'm doing on my side to change my volume levels. I'm going to turn the volume off on my side, and maybe that helps you. Tell me if you're okay. Dave Cameron, can you hear this just fine? It's new technology, so there is a little bit of getting used to on my side, but you should be able to hear this just fine. Please tell me you can hear me. Their stocks are doing well, Terrence says. It should be outlawed. Can you hear me just fine? This is live, so, they say I hear you hear me okay. I'm not going to keep stopping the video for folks who say they can't hear me. So you're going to have to find. They say Mr. Carter says he can hear me. Okay, so you're going to have to find a way to connect your devices on your side. I'm going in on this topic right now. I'm not stopping. Okay, so here it is. Private prisons need customers. And if I'm running a startup, I can get customers. Now I've got the feed froze a little bit, so I want to. This topic is so important that I'm going to come back at this. Private prisons need customers. That is not a problem with most businesses. I'm not going to give up on you. It says that my feed is slow. I'm halfway around the world, and I'm not going to refresh this. I'm going to keep going. So if Terrence says people are the inventory, unfortunately, in this particular case, that is true. Let me come back at this. Again, it is so important that you get this memo, this message clear. If I'm running a Starbucks, I can get customers from all around the city. I can get customers from the college, from the universities. I can get customers from local businesses. I can get the customers from local government offices. I can get customers from tourists who are coming in town. If I'm running a Starbucks, I can get customers everywhere. But if I'm running a private prison, I can only get customers one place. And that one place is the criminal justice system. And so if you're running a private prison, and in this particular case, you're not a racist, you're not a part of the Ku Klux Klan, you're not theoretically a bad person. You're just a capitalist trying to make money, trying to build wealth. You're limited in where you can get your customers from one place. It is the criminal justice system. And that means that if you're trying to increase your customer base, you've got to increase the flow of people coming your way, and you may be inclined to grease a few palms. Now, we have seen cases of this of experts who have now tainted drug testing devices for those who have been brought up on charges to suggest that these people, in fact, should be convicted, when in fact they tested negative. That person was influenced, their view was influenced by cash, which was influenced by somebody who needed customers, the private prison. You now have a judge, a Charles Cedric Johnson of Tampa, thank you very much as well. You now have a judge that was convicted. And I'm not talking about all judges here. I'm not talking about the entire criminal justice system. Don't get into conspiracy theories, all right? Because most people who are doing these jobs are honorable people. But this is one area where you cannot have an error factor. You cannot have an error factor when you're putting people away and taking away their freedom and their liberties. This is not like selling Starbucks or Frappuccinos somewhere. This is not like selling big screen TVs. You are selling justice and freedom. And that means you've got to be an absolute honest broker, absolute, unquestionable honest broker. So if you are trying to get customers, and again, there's a judge who's just been convicted. I apologize for the signal here. Normally it's pretty strong. Hold on. Lost connection. This connection here at the condo is edgy. I'm gonna go to my dang, that's deep. I'm gonna go to my Mevo. Damn. It's this iffy connection, Tasha, just kicked me off.
Make sure that you're not still connected.
No, I'm not, unfortunately. Still live. Okay. So it's clear here. Okay, I'm glad you're clear. I had to change my internet connection. So I really wish I could do this over again. I don't want to waste everybody's time who's online. They says Kim says I'm fine. Kim Wade. As I really wanted this really tight so that it could be, for those who have short attention spans, that it could be digested in 5 minutes. But please forgive me, this is an important message. So I'm going to come at this again, and hopefully you can edit this down to just the part so your friends can see it. If you are selling almost any other product in any other business, it's okay if there's an error factor. Because it's not life or death, because you're not selling freedom and justice. And I'm a big proponent, as you know, about free enterprise and capitalism. And is capitalism perfect? No. Capitalism is like democracy. It's a horrible system, except for every other system. I don't know if you noticed, but China has picked capitalism, a communist country. Russia has picked capitalism, a communist country. So capitalism is a wonderful system if you use it positively. But in a situation like this, and you build wealth and then give it back to community through philanthropy and do well and do good, like I'm trying to do, by the way. But if you are dealing with truth and justice, and if you only get customers from one place, the criminal justice system, then you might, I'm going to repeat myself now, begin to taint the evidence, begin to pay off witnesses, begin to pay off judges. And there was a judge recently who was convicted of years of basically putting people into a system that would end up in the private prisons because he was financially rewarded. I believe he got into the seven figures. And if he's getting seven figures for that, you can imagine what the prisons were making. Now, in this particular instance, I'm actually not ascribing any ill will. I'm not saying the people who own these private prisons, the shareholders of these private prisons, are bad people. They may be completely decent. But when you only get your customer from one place, it sort of rigs the game because you now need more people. In other words, you don't do better if your customers do better. You don't do better if people get better, if they get off drugs, if they redeem themselves, if they somehow go through a program of recidivism and can get out of the criminal justice system. Your inventory of customers is decreasing. So your revenue goes down and your shareholders begin to bail out. So you actually need, in this situation, more customers. You need more prisoners. That's not a good model for business. It's not a good model for society. And it's not even a good model for a good person who wants to get into business, because it will ultimately, unless you're an absolute angel, corrupt you. Because you just need more flow. And there's only one place where the flow is coming from. Okay. Let me now deal with the second type of person that owns private prisons. There are conspiracy theorists out there who say racists own private prisons. That might be the case. Here's another scenario. I'm tired of black folks and brown folks being on welfare. I'm tired of poor people living on subsidies and entitlements, even though welfare and entitlements, there are more poor whites in America than poor anybody else, and even though entitlements were created for in the agrarian age as a result, well, through the agrarian age for farmers, who, and the biggest subsidy, by the way, is farm subsidies. Is a whole other conversation for another time. But unfortunately, the face of poverty is a black and a brown face. So you have some people who say, I'm tired of these folks not working, tired, blah, blah, blah. I'm tired of getting a welfare check and then doing nothing with it. So I'm going to have reverse welfare. If versus giving them a check and them doing nothing productive with it, I'm going to create a private prison, wait for them to show up. They think they know your habits. Unfortunately, this is where we get sort of punked a little bit. As Malcolm X said, you've been bamboozled, you've been tricked, you've been fooled. They're going to wait for you to show up because they just think that you're going to, the natural proclivity of poor people is to end up in prison. That's a whole other conversation. I'm going to get into a little bit of it here. And their view is, fine, if you're going to show up in prison anyway, they might as well benefit from it. And now versus a bunch of poor people getting individual welfare checks, there's going to be one person getting one huge welfare check, and he's going to build wealth, or she, or whoever, by housing you. Not you, cousin boo-boo, whoever it happens to be, all right? Now, let me give you a fact and a stack for those who just say this is an absolute conspiracy. It is not an absolute conspiracy. We're helping the conspirators in many ways. I'm not talking about minor crimes here. I'm not talking about the guy got 30 years for selling marijuana or holding marijuana. Those are minor offenses, and that's wrong. Those sentencing guidelines are wrong. I'm talking about rape, mayhem, murder, armed robbery, stuff that you should not be forgiving, stuff you should not be excusing just because it was your cousin that did the holding up. Somehow that's okay because it's your cousin. No, it's not okay. Because the dude on the other side, the person on the other side of that crime also had a family and a mother and a sister who's now grieving because our cousin boo-boo shot them. Now, here's what the statistics say. 22 governors will tell you by third grade reading and math scores how many prisons to build. I'm going to repeat that. Need you in Louisiana. Slane Emerson. Thank you very much. We're coming to Louisiana with our work. After I make this statement, you may not want me to come to Louisiana because I'm coming at you hard, straight and no chaser. So let me come at you. I'm going to say this again. 22 governors can tell you by third grade reading and math scores how many prisons to build. that almost nothing is an indicator of poverty, and as a result of that, an inability to operate within the mainstream system than literacy. And the literacy rate in Chicago is below 50%. The literacy rate in America, by the way, is 99%, just to give you some context. The literacy rate in Chicago is below 50%. So I mean, you can't get a legitimate job, right? So what does that leave you to do? Hello. So yeah, private prisons are bad, but we shouldn't be helping them. America has more folks in prison than any place else in the world, I believe, and more than China, as my friend Van Jones just recently said. They have 1.5 billion people. So obviously our system is not very efficient, and we need to be finding ways to get people rehabilitated, because it costs more to put somebody in prison than it does to send them to Harvard. We just lost our signal. I'm sure it's coming back. Okay, here we go. It costs more to send somebody to prison than it does to send them to Harvard every year. So I'm drawing a line between hardcore criminals and hardcore crimes, and those who have minor offenses and are really laboring under unfair sentencing guidelines. I think we need to find a balance here, but in no case should we be excusing Cousin Boo Boo for killing somebody and having a gun with 28 rounds in a clip. That's just no, okay? Just no, right? Go get a job, period. But we need to get our education, and we need to get literate, and we need to make sure we're not making ourselves victims and are setting ourselves up for a production line that leads to the penal system. So we need to stop helping folks. Again, Detroit has an overwhelming or a majority illiteracy rate. Chicago has a majority illiteracy rate, right at above 47-50%. We need to get the literacy rate up, right? So we have options and optionality for our lives, and stop making ourselves victims or targets for folks who are targeting us as a pimping business enterprise, which leads me back to where I started. Private prisons are basically a pimping business enterprise, and it is an example of bad capitalism. Even when people mean well, it is hard for them to do well because they need a flow of customers, which makes it hard for them to want to get people out of the penal system and successfully re-entered into society. So I think it was a good thing for the Obama administration to separate themselves from private prisons. Now, before you get too excited, as Natasha Bryant, my wife, has written in one of her pieces, you should probably check out some of the writing she does. She's very smart. She is making smart sexy. She was a smart person who told me it's probably still live on video, so pay attention. So we need to focus on the fact that while the federal government has done this, that's only 10% of everybody in the penal system. That most of the folks are at the state level and the local level. So we need for this to become a bit of a trend around the country. But I don't want you guys to get off on this thing of this is somehow another racist conspiracy and blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't have to be that complicated. Look, folks don't have to hate you today. This is where I drop the mic and I'm done. Terry Walford. I'll answer most of these comments offline, by the way, because this has been a bit of a sketchy recordation session here today. But here's the drop the mic moment. While the majority of the inmates are at the local level, this was done at the federal level, and it's going to be hard to have this sort of trickle down, but you can do it. Write letters, call your congressman, call your mayor's office, make sure your voice is heard. But here's the drop the mic moment. Folks don't have to hate you today. They don't have to have a conspiracy against you today. This is not about love or hate. This is about radical indifference. Folks don't have to hate you today. It's just, we're getting to a point where people are, and I'm going to do a whole nother piece on this, and I did a couple videos on the why anger is not a good strategy. But if we get the image of becoming just the protest people and the angry people and the pissed off people and the I'm upset people, and we don't have an image of or a brand of being productive and adding value, which we do and we are, but if that's not our brand and our image, at a certain point, even good people say, you know what? I don't hate them. I don't really I don't hate them. I don't love them. I just don't care. It's not love or hate. It's radical indifference. And so at that point, it's not love or hate. It's whatever. And now you have private schools, private prisons, private homes, private roads, private security, private islands. People just say, you know what? I just don't care. Just keep the drama away from me. That is not a prescription for success. That's not a prescription for a good society. It's not a prescription. That's not good for anybody. A house divided cannot stand. That's from the Bible. We all need each other. We're all bound up together. We're all God's children. And on that point, I'm out. Love you much.